Hello, wonderful people. Shaun Tucker here, coach, trainer, and the man behind the mic in the brand new podcast, How Are You Really Mum? With the fresh male perspective, this is a place where we will unveil the layers and celebrate the woman behind motherhood. In How Are You Really Mum, we acknowledge the joys, the challenges, the growth, and the tears. I hope you enjoy the show. I'm delighted to share this space today with an amazing lady from the United States over in Alabama, which is quite a vast time difference. I mean, right now, it's 11 in the morning over where this lovely lady is. Her name is Cora, by the way. She's at 8:05 p.m. in the evening, so day before, I must mention. So a little bit about Cora. Cora Howard is a dedicated mindfulness coach specializing in empowering C-section mamas and mums to heal through the transformative power of words. With a unique approach called Writing to Heal, she guides mothers in finding their voice and reclaiming their emotional equilibrium. Passionate about maternal health, Cora combines her expertise with a deep understanding of the challenges faced by C-section mums, helping them navigate their journey with mindfulness and resilience. So Cora, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's amazing to have someone who, we connected a couple of weeks ago, right? A few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Someone who's lived the journey. You're a mum of two kids, is that right?
2 daughters, yes.
2 beautiful girls. And how old is the oldest one?
She is 6, and the youngest just turned 5 last month.
Yeah, so 2 very closely knitted in terms of age as well. So yeah, yes. when I connected with you, it was so awesome just to hear a little bit about your story, and I was like, wow, I got to get you on this podcast that I'm celebrating all mums of all different walks of life about, because when it comes to things like mindfulness and resilience and learning to navigate life with those toolkits, I mean, I'm excited for today's conversation.
Yay. So I guess we could start, well, I'll just tell you about my day, since I find different golden nuggets every single day.
Very wise lady. I got to let everyone know today, like, this conversation might go into places where you never thought would be possible, because Cora, from our little conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago, you're a very wise woman. You're probably a lady who's lived many, many wise lifetimes, so to speak.
I believe so.
And, I absolutely agree with you on that. And I think today's episode is really going to resonate with some people, and it may not resonate with others. And that's okay, because the whole idea is exploring, your journey of motherhood from all the things that you've gone through, going from basically a little girl turning into a woman to becoming a mum who's now got 2 beautiful girls, 2 beautiful girls, 5 and 6, and really like navigating through how do you manage yourself right now? And now you're empowering other mums to do the same thing. So I think that's a very cool place to start.
Well, today, so normally I get up and I'll get on LinkedIn and I'll just read a whole bunch of stories, because I always like to see what other moms are up to, just to kind of get like a feel like, okay, what can I talk about today? What can I think about today? So I never want to, I'm always open and interested in like what might happen, what may not happen. I try not to control my day. So I just kind of go wherever life floats me. But today a mom had, she wrote a paragraph and I read it. I don't know why, but I read it. And she was talking about how when you become a mom, you lose your identity of, manager or wife or friend.
Mm.
You're just mom. And so I told her you could be mom and a product manager, mom and wife and artist, like whatever you want to be. And I said you can redefine motherhood how it is to you, but I said you have to voice what that is. You can't just say you go on social media and say, I don't want to do this or complain or whine, as I should say,
Mm.
in the nicest way. But I think we have to, women don't really, we lose our voice after we have children because it's all about the
Yeah,
kids and we
interesting.
forget about ourselves. And so we normally don't voice our opinions or what we want. It's kind of like, if that's what the kids want, I'll just go along with it. But what do you want? And I think we have to start giving women, especially moms, their voice back. And once we do that, um, they're able to vocalize what's going on. They're able to say, "Hey, I need help," because most moms aren't going to ask for help because they feel like they're burdening someone.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I told her, I said, I'm a philosophy type person. I said, I'm like a philosophy nerd. So I
Well,
told her, I said,
studier of life, right? I think
yeah.
you're a student of life in many ways.
Yes. So I told her, I said, every time I go to the store and I said, my girls, I said, they're close in age. I said, I always get told, that must be hard, because they're a year and a half apart. And then I told her, I was like, no, I said, I always ask them a question. I'm like, if it was hard, I wouldn't have two that were close in age. So I'm like, obviously there's a lesson there for me. And
Mm.
I always tell them it's easy. And they go, how is it easy? And I was like, well, if I say it's hard and I agree with you, then it's going to definitely be hard. So if I say it's easy, it's going to be easy because that's the word I put on it. And I think when we use certain words, like if we don't use, how am I trying to say this? If we use words that other people give us, like if I were to say, my life is hard, having children close in age is hard, then everything will be hard. But if I say it's
Yeah.
easy or it's fun or it's creative, I'm creating that. It's not, it's like slowly like rippling. And I always say my life is a canvas. So I'm painting it with words, different words, and it's different colors and different arenas and vibrant and nature and all those all those things.
I love where you've gone here, right? Because the whole identity piece there is when we, even regardless if you're a mom or not, if you start holding yourself as just one identity, right? Because the whole idea is we're all playing different roles. Like
Yes.
I'm a dad. I have a beautiful four month old girl, and I'm also like a coach, a trainer. I'm all these things, but at the same time, I'm also no one
Yeah.
because it's the identity that actually keeps us locked in these places.
Hmm.
And if, like what you said, if we use those words that are disempowering, if we use those words that keep us stuck in a place that's not evolving or creating, as you say, then the canvas or the painting we'll paint might be someone else's idea or expression.
Hmm.
Whereas if we just kind of like let our creativity come to us and flow through us, then the
Yeah.
canvas is filled up by our own expression of who we are.
Exactly. Because I always tell my 5-year old, I really think that she's like 30, but so like so I was talking to her and she was like, she was telling me all these different things that she wants to do. She's very imaginative.
Mhm.
And so she told me, she's like, I want to be a cheerleader. I'm like, okay. And I was like, she's like, how do I become that? And so I told her, I was like, when you close your eyes, I was like, that's like your canvas. It's a blank canvas. And then when you open your eyes, that's what you paint. So she's starting to meditate at the age of 5, and I'll do it with her, and it's quite fun. But she listens in on my calls and everything. So she's like literally taking these little things that I'm saying and actually applying them. And then, like, if I don't do them, she'll say, well, you told your client that the other day, that if they sit down and think about it, it'll happen. It's just like, it cannot do that to me. And I was like, well, you can't be a professional cheerleader just yet because you're not 18. But I said, we can start the process of doing it so we have enough time. But I
Hmm.
think most people don't have the patience, even if we're 25, 40, or even 60. We don't give ourselves enough patience to sit and create the reality that we want to see, even if it's through visualization, vision boards, meditation, writing. Like, I don't think we are patient enough to build it, because it's like we
Yeah.
build it on these sturdy foundations, or we're like, oh wait, that person on social media, they have, the designer stroller. That's what I want. Do you need it? Will that make you happy?
Yeah, there's an element of you have to empty before you can create, right? You have to really
Right.
empty yourself out. And I love what you said about meditation, and your 5 year old's already an integrator, right? Like that's huge. And kids will love doing that. And I can't wait for my little girl to start just open curiosity. I mean, she's already doing it. The way she just interacts with the world right now is she's responding. She's just looking at it, and if I sneeze or something, she's just boom. It's like everything's a surprise to her, and that's what life is, though, isn't it, Cora? Because there's
It
no
is.
real past or future. It's just now, and every moment is a new moment.
It is. Um, I told her, my oldest always looks forward to holidays because she knows that's when like our family is getting together. And so I
Yeah.
had to tell her, I'm like, you have to live in this moment. This is what matters. She's like, why? I know when my birthday comes, we're going to Florida. And I'm like, but I was like, we're in June. It is June. I was like, let's celebrate June. Let's live in June. And she's like, I can't do that. And I was like, well, I said, if you live for a holiday, you live for a vacation, you look forward to all these different things. I was like, life is going to literally fast forward, and you're going to forget about what happened from now until that event. And I was like, that's how you're going to live life. So you're going to live like on this speedy type of rotation. And then next thing you're 80 and you're like, where did my life go? And I was like, you can't live like that. She was like, okay. So now she does things a little bit different because she's my more artistic type child, very creative. She's an artist and all that stuff. So I have to either play a song while I'm talking to her, or like do like have you ever seen The Sound of Music?
Hmm. Hmm.
I have
Yeah.
to kind of do that with her for her to understand, like, hey, we have to live in the present. I'm not going to tell you what song I was singing, but I told her I had to live in the present. So yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. No, it makes sense to me, and I think there's three things always happening, right? We have a perception of what we
Mhm.
take in to be
Yeah.
truth or untrue or whatever, without conclusion. Then
Mhm.
we have our experience, and we have the expression. So I love your daughter, if she's very artistic in terms of just being able to create and take in all this levels of perception and then turn it into something, right? That's going through all three of those things that are happening right now. Because if you suddenly make a conclusion about what's happening already,
Mhm.
well, you're only maybe going to paint something very bland and non-creative, right?
Exactly. Yes.
You have to be able to stop, pause, which is a form of like meditation. The whole point of meditation is to become meditative, so you
Mhm.
can allow more life to come through you.
Exactly. Life is beautiful. It's chaotic sometimes, but I think when you become a student of life,
Hmm.
more things are able to happen for you versus happening, like not being in a victim mindset. Like, oh,
Agree.
life is causing me pain. Life is no, life is beautiful. Life is it's like a dance. between two extremes where you're in the middle and you're either going to dance on two left feet or you're going to learn how to dance with both of your feet. It's one of those beautiful things. It's kind of like I was telling a friend because she was depressive, and I told her, well, I was like, at one end, you're depressed. At the other end, there's joy, there's happiness. And I was like, we have to kind of dance in the middle of those two extremes of duality, that is.
Hmm.
Yeah. So once
Yeah.
she kind of learned how to do that, I was like, well, you know what being depressed is. You've felt it, you've experienced it. I said, so now you have to experience what joy is and kind of be, in the middle of it. Because I mean, you're gonna ping pong. We're human, but you can try to control or just be in the moment and learn how to get back to that. I call it a neutral state of mind. Just kind of get back and then figure out, okay, what do I
Mm.
want to experience now?
Yeah. I mean, that takes a lot of experience, a lot of life experience, but not
Yeah,
in terms of just it happening, right? So
yeah,
this is, I'd love like to go down this with you if it's okay, and just
yeah,
understand and learn more about your personal journey of like takes a lot of awareness to get to where you are right now, right?
right.
And what I mean by that is reflecting back and connecting the dots at a really deep, profound level to really know who you are. Because when you're able to share wisdom with people, it
Hmm.
means that you've learned that. You've learned that through your own experience.
Yes.
And
Um,
for you now to become a mindfulness coach, helping C-section moms, right?
right.
I'm sure just you and your presence is enough to liberate them just by mere connecting with you.
Right. Yes, I will say that. Um, I think the first time I ever experienced anything where I was confused was when I learned what death was for the very first time, and I think I was in the first grade. It freaked me out. I'm
Mm.
not gonna lie. I think I had nightmares. I was very confused. I'm like, we live and we live, we're born, we come die. I was very confused. I'm like, that is wicked. That was my first thought as a child. And so my dad explained it to me, but then I didn't understand it. So then when my grandmother passed, I was like, that one was, I wouldn't say it was wicked. It was confusing still because I didn't really understand. I was kind of more so like, okay, maybe I need to be more cautious with certain things because she passed from cancer. And so then my grandfather passed. There was like this other transitioning happening, and I'm just like, I lost friends, but then I gained friends, and then I changed, and I'm like, am I like, are certain parts of me leaving with these people? And then when my mom passed, was 3 years ago.
Goodness, I'm so
That's
sorry
when
to
it
hear
hit.
that.
Thank you. That's when it came kind of full circle because ironically, they all died. Well, I'm going to say transition. It was like every 9 years. And so I started studying. I started really getting into like, why was it nine? And I noticed that every year I transformed, I grew, I evolved, and my knowledge of everything got a little bit deeper.
Hmm.
And I will say, after she passed, I was able to kind of heal from my own postpartum depression that I had going on. Because she's like, no, don't tell anybody that you have that. And I was like, why? She's like, no, no one needs to know because there's like this stigma of mental health. But I was like, well, no one understands. It's like, I said, it's not anything financial. I was like, it's not that. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, but
Yeah.
I have this scar. I never had a scar before, but I've always been like body conscious. And I feel like everybody was staring at me and everybody thought I was fragile. So like I never asked for help. And then when I started talking about it, I started to feel better and better. So then I started to do different techniques and different things to like help me heal. And then I just started kind of talking in a different way as I started studying and absorbing all these different things and connecting dots. Because I've always been a person that asks a ton of questions and then go back and like research it. Um, so that's kind of where everything led me. I really took we parts of us do die when a loved one does pass on, and
Mm.
when I finally understood what someone said when we die a little every day, I was like, there's a piece of us, like not really a physical piece, but more so of a persona of ourself that does die, a part of us that as we evolve kind of
Yeah.
dies off.
Yeah. Interesting. And
Yeah.
that actually, yeah. I mean, well, first of all, congratulations. I really acknowledge your strength and admiration to keep on carrying through because, like, I absolutely love and adore my mum, and it's big part of the reason why I started this podcast in the first place.
Aw.
Right. So that's a huge reason why I started it. And what you've just said there, life and death, they're duality of the same thing. Like there is
Mhm.
no life without death. There is no death without life.
Right.
And what you just said, a little bit of us dies every single day. It's the attachment. It's that identity that we hold or cling on to that actually keeps us in this place of non-living, which is kind of that, let's say, depressive kind of momentary um, dance, as you
Hmm.
say, between life and death,
Yes.
because we have a choice. If we're faced with our own mortality and realize that life is actually incredibly fragile,
Hmm.
and we are so fortunate that we wake up every morning. For
Hmm.
those that do wake up every morning, because there's so many people that don't wake up every morning
That is true.
in the world, right? So we're
Hmm.
so fortunate and so blessed to just simply be alive. And that should be enough to be like, at least smile when you wake up, right?
Yes, I
But the
agree.
fact of the matter is, we are so disconnected and stuck in this place of just thought and feeling and all these things that are going on in our head, in our mental, psychological structures, right?
Hmm.
And this is the kind of the holding on that we attach to, which actually keeps us stuck and non-living, as I said before. So
Exactly.
what you've just said there is like your healing journey actually began by realizing that death is there. The people that I love so deeply and so dearly have now gone through to the other side where they're
Hmm.
not living anymore. They've passed on from this world,
Hmm.
and now you acknowledge that this is like a huge part of our life.
It is.
Massive. That like that itself takes so much levels of profound just acknowledgement and acceptance. And most people are just completely in denial and ignorant of the fact that it's true.
Hmm. Um, when I have to, my daughters used to ask me all the time, where's grandma? And it hurt. And then I started telling them, she's gone physically. And I
Mm.
had to go into like the depths of like, spiritually she's here. You might see her in a butterfly. She might paint something in the sky. And so what made me cry was when my daughter went to kindergarten for the first time. Because my mom didn't get to experience any of this. And it did make me sad because my grandmother went with me when I went to kindergarten.
Mm.
She was like, Grandma ate lunch with me today. I asked her how, and like she told me all the things, and I was like, yeah, that was her. And she was like, I understand, I get it. And I was like, I wish I had me when, that happened to me. Like, I wish there was a me to explain it that way, because they get
Mm.
it at their tender age. They get it. And that makes me happy as a mom. I'm like, well, maybe these kids came to me because maybe they needed someone like me to help guide them through life, because I know at some point in time, they're going to be adults and they're not going to leave me, but they're going to have their own life. And what I'm giving them, they can pass on to their kids and their kids. And it's not like I'm teaching them things that we don't get to experience, or knowledge that we get to have when we're growing up, because everything's so especially here in the US, everything's so structured, everything's so by the book, or this isn't right, that isn't right, but it is. We have to stop and be still and know that it's gonna be okay, even if we don't think so in the moment, and certain things are temporary. I used to say, when I was going through my, loving my body again, because I have this scar, I would say, I'm not my body. This is my physical vessel. And I had to keep saying it to make myself really believe it, because I didn't believe it. And I was like, I know this isn't my body. I know this is just my physical form. I know that I'm energy. And I kept telling myself that until I had a dream about it. And then when I woke up, I said, okay. And I looked in the mirror and I smiled. And I was so happy. And I was crying. I was like, okay, I get it. And then I went and I told my sister, I said, I'm not my body. And she's like, what do you mean? And I told her, and she's like, are you crazy? I said, maybe. But I was like, it has helped me to just be like, okay, I have this scar. And I went and I think I bought like a whole bunch of stuff offline. And I was happy. I was like, I love me again, because I don't really look like this. I said, I'm probably like, this beautiful cluster of light blue energy. I don't know. But this is just my physical form. This is what I choose to look like. This is what I chose. I chose this experience. I'm learning from it. I was like, this is my school. I was like, I can't be mad at anything. I can't be upset. If I am, it's temporary. Or maybe I'm triggered by something. I said, I'm living, everybody's a reflection of me. I was like, I'm really living here by myself, and y'all are just mirrors of me. She was like, what? I was like, I don't know. I was like, I have no idea what I dreamt about. But I was like, somehow I'm happier. So I
You've
just
you've
went,
you've lost you've lost yourself, in other words, and that
yes,
either that or you're completely off your rocker.
right.
And people like listening to the conversation might be thinking the same thing. And really, it's not wrong or right. It's something that connects the dualities of life and death, up and down, left and right, on and off, right? It's
Yes,
truth is the thing that allows you to see beyond that.
yes,
And the highest expression of truth is just turning the light on, really.
yes.
And so if that, I mean, I totally understand and resonate on that. And it's sometimes so challenging when we have these, as you say, like a physical scar, like you have a physical scar on your body.
Hmm.
And for you to, let's say, detach or detangle yourself from that, you really had to lean into the fact that you're not your body. You're not your body, which allowed you to see that you are so much more. You're so much more than what you think you are.
Right.
And that is such a profound level of experience that you allowed yourself to go through. Because really you're just getting to the most rawest layer of who you are. And like
Hmm.
me too, I resonate on that because I have a scar on my tongue, right? When I was 3, and in my first episode of the podcast, I actually go into the story of how I basically nearly severed off my own tongue with my teeth. And
Oh,
that is still a story that I'm healing from, right?
gotcha. Yeah.
And it's the more, I guess, we feed ourselves these identities and these psychological structures, because we have to understand, well, what is bigger? Is our psychological structure bigger than life itself? Or is it the other way around?
Mm, that's a good
Is
question.
life bigger than our psychological structure? Or is it that our mental structure is bigger than life?
I think, hmm, I think our psychological structure is bigger because I feel like it compromises of not just this life, but our past lives. If people believe in that, I know I do. But I feel like our consciousness is like this ball of energy, but it's
Yeah.
bigger, but somehow it's contained, in this human form.
Yeah.
So when we
I hear
think
what you're
about,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, so when we go through like all these different things, it might be, something that keeps repeating from three
Yeah.
previous lives or maybe 10, depending on what your lesson is, no judgment. Um,
Depends what your limitation is, right?
right, because it
Because
takes some people about 20 lifetimes to figure out one lesson. I don't know. But anyway, um, I just feel like it's bigger. It's
yeah,
bigger. Yeah.
yeah, and it comes back to a simple notion of, well, how much of your psychology, like when I talk about psychology, I'm talking about your intellect, right?
Hmm.
So your intellect is only one small aspect of your mind. When you're talking about consciousness itself, it's tapping into the universal mind.
Hmm.
Your universal mind, which is connected to everything and God himself or herself or whatever it is,
Yeah.
this is where you access things that you're really, 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 really deeply unconscious of.
Yeah.
And from your experience and your life experience, Cora, I love the fact that you've been able to realize that your life has been your choice at some level or another.
Yeah.
And that the more you've leaned into realizing that this is a life that you chose to live, this is your experiences, you are in the school of life. I love that, by the way. You're literally a student in this school of life. I
Hmm.
think that's really, really amazing because it just gives you this playground
Yeah.
that if you're constantly open, aware, and just being with it, you can
Yeah.
experience it.
Yeah. And it can be a profound experience once, because I feel like everything from birth to whatever age you are now is all connected in some form of way. Like it's like different, like little strings connecting to you from different parts of life, like DNA strands.
Yeah. Yeah. Or little quarks,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
tiniest little thing you can possibly know.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
the cool thing about what we're talking about here, I think, for just to enlighten some of the listeners and viewers, is that science and spirituality are actually expressing the same thing.
Hmm.
One is just the coin looking at the inner science, so the inner experience. The other one is looking at the other side of the coin, which is the outer experience. There is
Yeah.
not one without the other. They're both the same thing. It's just how we experience and how we perceive it. And the people that just shut themselves off, and you might be listening and thinking, these two quacks are really like lost the plot here, right? But seriously, it's just about being open, because if you're closing yourself off just even a little bit, that's how you're responding to life. Is you're closing off to life. It means you're afraid perhaps of the inevitable that is death. And the
Hmm.
more that you're just openly embracing life, life is also welcoming death, which then turns to life again. Well, I think there's just so much in that simple, I guess, understanding right there. There's just so much in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like when you go out and you look at nature, you see all these beautiful things, and there, life and death. Because I think it's a male bee, when he uses his stinger, he dies, but then he's reborn to another bee to do the exact same thing, which is basically kind of in a way what we do if you believe in reincarnation.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. And the other thing is, I think as we've kind of gone down this rabbit hole of, well, we're all part of the earth, right? We're all part of this formation of life that's just sort of happened.
Yeah.
And how we handle our life and how we return ourselves to the earth should be handled quite, like, what's the word? Intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that we've sort of handled it seems like it's very it's not that it's not eco-friendly. It's more like we're returning it to the earth. We're returning ourselves to the earth in these metal casks in many ways, or wooden
Right.
casks. But
Right.
really, it's we're all part of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are just the material form of five elements,
Yes.
the
My
physical form.
mom, my mom had she got cremated. So what we do, she said she wanted her ashes across a body of water. So
Yeah,
that's what we do. And if we go visit a new state, we'll put them over like a lake or like a river or the ocean or whatever, because that's where she wants to be.
I love that. I'm all on board with returning it to the earth in the more natural sense, or the maybe the way
Yes.
that, not to say that burying ourselves in a metal cask is completely wrong. I'm not suggesting that at all, but it's
Hmm.
just realizing that life is just a dance, or it's just a pendulum swing of what happens between life and death.
Right.
And for us to be returned and maybe ecologically transformed to come back as another form or whatever it is, because fungus grows out of death. Have you seen how have you seen how we have food waste, and then that turns into compost, that turns into fertilizer, that then
Hmm.
regenerates and rejuvenates the soil to
Yeah.
allow the cycle of life to continue.
Yeah. Like, not to get all Disney, but like in The Lion King, when Mufasa told Simba about the circle of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, they eat the antelope. The antelope eats the grass. They die. That's where I learned about the circle of life.
It's so true though, and it's so simple for people just to kind of see it for the way that it is. But it's
Hmm.
because we start analyzing and dissecting and trying to understand. But what if, or what's between, right?
Yeah.
If you look at a heart, for example, and you just continue to dissect it, and you get down to the smallest structure you can physically see, maybe with a microscope. It's like, do you
Mhm.
really understand how the heart works, or do you really just understand how it operates?
Right. Hmm. That's a good perspective.
Because the truth is, we really don't know how we're here. Like, how did we get here? How are we able to even communicate from one place in the world to another place in the world, understand what each other's saying in real time, even though we come from very, very, very different places, right? It's like, how is this happening right now?
I sometimes think that we're all part of different clusters. I'm going to say clusters of energy, and we
Yeah.
somehow got scattered across, this planet. And then when we meet each other, it's like, oh, I understand you, understand me. It's like this instant. It's like an instant feeling, like a instant,
It's
instant.
familiar, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Totally agree. Cora, can I ask you a question to link it back to, I guess, your experience and being a mum right now to a 5 and a 6-year old? is like, if you could go back and maybe looking at, your scar and what happened before you went under the knife and had the operation, right? The surgery.
Mhm.
If you could go back to that moment just before the decision was made, what would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now?
I would tell myself that it's okay. Hold on, let me get my words right. Um, I would tell myself that it's okay and that you can do anything. You've always been capable of doing anything. So even if this does set you back, um, you can handle it. These are actually words my mom told me, but
Oh,
she's
wow.
always told me that. Yeah, because I used to always feel defeated when I didn't accomplish things, and she was always that voice of encouragement. Um, so yeah.
It's all going to be all right.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna bounce back. She always told me that. She's like, "Yeah, you're gonna bounce back, Cora." I'm like, okay, thanks. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. She's like, you'll figure it out. You always do. I literally always figure out anything that I need to figure out. Even if I do feel defeated for 2 seconds, I will figure it out. I don't know how my brain operates like that, but it's always been that way.
Well, if I can say you're expressing joy by just simply knowing. It's like a really deep inner knowing that things are going to be okay. And that really does come from a place of faith, right?
Mhm.
Even if we're not faith based or we follow some sort of religion or anything, human beings, we're constantly dancing in this world of like belief, right? Belief and faith are not too dissimilar. It's just knowing that things will be okay, or maybe they won't be okay. It all comes back to we're all faith based beings, and
Yes.
I think what you just said there is, if I could probably sum it up in a few different words, is don't forget to dance in this journey of life.
Yeah. Dance in the rain.
Dance in the rain. I love that. Well, Cora, it's been amazing in the last 40 minutes to chat with you. Is there anything you'd love to share about what you're up to? Obviously, your main platform is LinkedIn. Is there a place where people can find you and perhaps even work with you to help them understand themselves?
You can connect me on LinkedIn because I'm active on that platform. I'm probably going to be solely active on there for a while. But the latest thing that I'm doing is I'm going to open up a 9-week writing course. And I'm doing something a little unique. I didn't think about it before, but I thought about it. And they're going to
Mm.
be linked with the chakras, with words, and how you build up the seven different steps, but three different big transformational steps, and it's going to help whoever does it to heal in a very dramatic, profound way. I've done it myself,
Hmm.
and that's how I got here now with my business.
I
So it
love
worked.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that. So, Cora, I can't wait for you to share that, because that even sounds very interesting from my perspective as well. Because I know and understand the power of using words and writing to really just open yourself up, open your thought process to
Hmm.
just allow your body to express what it wants to express. Because the
Yes.
more unison we have between our mind, body, and spirit or soul or whatever it is,
Hmm.
right? The more we just allow the flow to come out through our hand and our fingers, which when we read it back, sometimes we are shocked and we go through this kind of profound transformation in just a matter of a few minutes or seconds or moments, right?
Yes.
So I'll make sure that I link, your LinkedIn profile into the show notes for today's episode as well, and can't wait to see you release that course, because I'll be sharing it with my audience as well.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Cora. Thank you everyone for tuning in today, and we really appreciate you guys being here. And yeah, if you want Cora on again, please let us know and we'll make it happen. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this heartfelt journey. Just a reminder to please subscribe, tune in, and become part of our supportive community. Because mums, you're not alone, and the world really needs to know, how are you really, mum? See you next time. Bye for now.